I have the urge to consume a piece of media in which a man is sent to an alien planet. It used to be paradise, but years of conflict have turned this paradise into a hellscape that has air that kills in seconds. This man is able to survive said air thanks to a specially grown blue body. He used to be a military man, but thanks to a tragedy, he convinced himself to go rogue with the help of his friends. That's right, I'm talking about Rogue Trooper! It doesn't really work when you don't have the box. Rogue Trooper! Originally started in 1981 by Jerry Finley Day and Dave Gibbons, it started life as a comic book for the British magazine 2000 AD. You may know them for publishing Judge Dredd and other things. I mean, look, Judge Dredd is probably the only one that I can be sure you have heard of because of I am the law! But they have other stuff, a lot of other stuff, and it varies from some weird sci-fi stuff like a story about ranchers going to the past to ranch dinosaurs to more fantastical stuff like Harry Houdini teaming up with H.P. Lovecraft and Arthur Conan Doyle to investigate the paranormal. Comics are weird. But we are here for Rogue Trooper. The comic is still ongoing, according to Wikipedia. And in 2006, Rebellion made a game, which is what we will be looking at today. Why? Well, because a good to at least decent comic game is still entertaining, even without needing to read a potentially 100 plus issue story. And this one is adapting the first arc of the comic, so we shall be getting the new reader experience in a more interactive format. The game takes place in the future! On the far distant planet of New Earth. With a U, because future! On this planet, two forces vie for control of it. The deadly Nordland in the north, and the technological Southers in the south. Look, this thing was written in the 80s. They can have a bit of leniency with these slightly uncreative names. Now, this would be a normal war with normal death, except this is the future! And years of chemical warfare and poison and people throwing their cans into the regular bins have transformed New Earth into a deadly landscape with air that kills you in seconds. You remember my Avatar joke from earlier? Though there are no locals to bring mixed metaphors into it. Which I mean makes sense because this is a British comic and they have an interesting history with this type of stuff. And speaking of Avatar, we meet our hero/heroes. Genetic infantry, with bodies grown to be immune to every type of poison in order to survive New Earth, and abs designed to look good in camo pants. Yeah, they don't give a reason why every trooper in the game is not wearing a shirt. Like, they do have helmets, so they at least give a 0.56% damn about the guy's protection. And we meet female GIs who are allowed to wear tank tops. So it's just... I mean, look. The right answer is probably just because it was the 80s and the artists probably wanted the guys to look heroic. And it's hard to do that in chem suits. No one looks at guys in hazmat suits and starts to feel horny. I am so wrong right now. There are people like that, and I wouldn't need to look deeper to find it. But it is fun to have some theories. Could be a way to save money from a potentially 5 billion credit project. Or, in our current money, $100. Or maybe they figured they can intimidate the Nords. Here they are in the unflattering uniforms with bags on their heads, and here comes the fucking Souther Jazz with their bulletproof pecs! So we play as one of these men. More specifically, a trooper called Rogue. Oh, so that's where it's from. He's a gruff military protagonist who is full of determination and grit. Other than that, he is a 2000s action game player character. I mean, look, the guy is boring. We only really hear him talk during the cutscenes, and the rest of the time he is rather quiet. The dude is just focused on his job, and that's it. I wouldn't put him in the pantheon of great game protagonists. I didn't dislike him, but he is someone you would work with at the office, but not invite to the barbecue. And we start the game off with him being dropped off on a place called the Quad Zone with his squad. Gunner! expert marksman, able to hit a pea at 1,000 miles. Cocky bastard. Helm, specialist in hacking, can break into anything with keys. Head surprisingly squishable. And Bagman, he has a backpack. Why are they being dropped there? To sneak and blow up some it doesn't matter. They get ambushed and everything goes to shit. Fucking the drop pods get blown up. Fucking Gunner dies. Fucking Bagman dies. Helm is captured to be most likely tortured and then killed. And everyone is ordered to retreat, but they instead die. And so Rogue goes Maverick in order to rescue Helm, find out how the Norts got the info to ambush them, and to get revenge for his dead teammates who tag along. I'll explain later. And that is where our game begins. First impressions are mixed. The game is not the prettiest thing in the world, and I know that is unfair to say for an old game, but compared to some of the other things released in 2006, well, it won't win the beauty fair. But style can make up for poor material, and the game does bring a decent bit of style. Everything is wrapped in the aesthetics of a lo-fi future. Oh sure, we are on a distant planet, and we have things like genetically manipulated soldiers. But everyone has been fighting this war for so long that sleek and stylish has been replaced with functional and cheap. Tanks are the size of small towns, helicopters look like they're being held together with tape and faith, and enemies are fighting you in, well, basically paper bags. It is honestly a look that I really dig. It's just fun seeing how they make low-tech stuff that still is stiff enough to say I mean, I love the look. It is taken from the comics, but they have managed to translate it pretty well, and the game does feature a lot of its own stuff, which doesn't look out of place. Also, in the bonuses, they have attached comic pages to the enemy bios, so you can compare, which I am a real big fan of. They also have extended this look pretty well into the environment. Or at least some of the environments, like the cities in the game. I mean, yeah, it is a lot of concrete, but it's fun to look at. And see how people have made places where, they can eat and live, but also if they take off their helmets, they will die a horrible death. Must make it very fun during flu season. Other environments are a bit more mixed. Oh sure, some of them are decently alien and kind of interesting to look at, but others are desert. And I don't mean to diss deserts, but they ain't very exciting. At the very least, the game tries to have a different look and environment for every level, and succeeds pretty well. And sound is sound. Nothing in it is too memorable or striking, though I will say the voice acting is pretty good throughout.
A silencer? If it's too loud, you're too old.
Your praise is appreciated, Grand Admiral Hoffa, as is your fine Norland brandy.
Let's be careful down there. We were bred to survive on New Earth, but that doesn't make us invulnerable. Good luck.
No one in the game became grating, and it is semi-fun listening to the Norts.
Stick!
Also, the shotgun kicks ass. But I will say this. The game has given me a damn twitch with its use of the bwah noise. I swear, it plays in almost every cutscene, and it is the exact same cadence and style. I can no longer listen to any piece of media that uses this dang noise without just remembering Rogue.
It has changed. They're coming.
You want to see the face of the man who betrayed you, G.I.
So, bonus feature of the game. But now we get to the important stuff. How does the game play? Well, as you've been seeing throughout, it is a third-person shooter with some light stealth elements. You'll be spending the game running and gunning at various forces of Nordland, alongside some light fauna extermination. It's your standard control setup. You got movement, which can be slightly awkward, but nothing that causes major frustration. You can dive in order to dodge bullets, but surprisingly, if you are shooting at someone and you dive, you'll perform a kind of shoot dive, a la Max Payne. It's not as impressive since you don't get that slow-mo, but it can be useful, and I often found it gave enough shooting time, which is always nice. And you can't go wrong diving at someone and giving them the old boomstick. Though one thing that you will find missing is a reload button. Instead, your backpack will automatically reload your weapon after a bit. It's a thing. Bit weird, but you get used to it. You can also go into cover, but don't expect some Gears of War type stuff. This is a third-person shooter with the cover being more of a side feature. You can attach yourself onto a wall and do some pop shooting, some blind firing, which does nothing. Well, the game does say it encourages the enemy to run to cover, but I never found it useful. And you can move back and forth. It's there. I found it useful in some points, but it's honestly better and more fun just to combine diving and ass kicking into a deadly storm. It is kind of encouraged to do that since health is healed by medpacks that you carry, and you can use these at any time without having to interrupt what you're doing. You can just press B and a little arm will come out of your backpack and give you the drugs you need. The backpack also gives you access to an inventory and crafting. A very basic inventory and crafting. It's just your ammo and your first aid, and you can craft ammo and first aid alongside being able to unlock equipment and upgrade said equipment. These are proper upgrades and not just investing points to increase your speed by 0.5%. How do you upgrade these? Well, scavenge. You can scavenge your enemies you killed, you scavenge small piles of junk, and you can scavenge your allies, who always give pitiful amount of scrap. I guess their equipment is made out of tinfoil. So what about the enemies then? Well, it's your standard array of guys with guns, dudes with shotguns, and a death wish. Snipers. Actually, I will say these snipers are interesting. They actually are in decent sniping spots. Like, they are often bloody far away. And if it went for the classic sniper cues of, lasers and taking a business week to shoot you, you wouldn't be able to find them. There are some more unique enemies. Sure, you got your standard unique enemies like, helicopter men, but you also got crazy lads who fly about on freaking hang gliders. On a less pleasant side, you also got big bad trash cans who unleash flying paintballs at you, which are annoying to shoot. It can be hard trying to hit them, especially if they're trying to kill you, and you don't even get the pleasure of not dealing with them if you disable the trash can, before the paintballs come out. Instead, you just unleash them sooner, which is not what I wanted in the slightest. My main complaint with the enemies is that they don't use the variety as much as they could. Like, the Nords have these mortar men, but you only really deal with like 3 of them throughout the entire game. For the most part, you're mainly dealing with standard dudes and their standard moves. It's not a major complaint since the game is already over before one would get sick of shooting the bad guys. Though having played the game multiple times, it is a bit disappointing, especially since there are some enemy types which you could get a lot of fun out of. You've got these big, heavily armored suitmen. It's a standard fare where you can either be smart to destroy them or just blast them with enough heavy firepower to blow the army's budget. But here's a fun fact about them. You can use the dead armored shell as cover. That is freaking awesome! I love stuff like that, and this is something that the game never tells you about, and honestly, there's never really a moment where you would naturally do this, and I wish the game did stuff like that more often. But gameplay is a two-way street. We got decent enemies to fight, so what about our high-powered weaponry? Unlike other games where you have a full arsenal of weapons, instead here you just have 2 that you can't get rid of. A pistol with unlimited ammo, and a rifle that takes attachments. Luckily, this is a rifle that does everything. Spits bullets, snipes, shotguns people, blows them up, and lasers them. It is a rather small arsenal, but they do try and make every piece of equipment worthwhile. Personally, I prefer having a variety of weapons that Rogue can pick up and swap out like Halo, but this is a third-person shooter, and for the most part you'll be seeing the back of Rogue's head and backpack, so it's not a deal breaker. You got the standard rifle, which can blast people well. It's automatic, it's got a pretty good clip, and could be potentially used in sword fights. You also get an upgrade soon into the game, which gives it a slight auto-aim. But honestly, it's better if you still aim at the enemy, especially since the game will inform you if you're about to instantly kill them. Whether this be from a headshot, like most games, or from... They're wearing tanks, and the first rule of any game is backpack tank equals explosion. And besides, blowing people up is fun, and it's fun to hear. It can have some tactical benefit with the explosion getting people nearby, but the enemies are moving around, and the fact that when you shoot a bloke that he starts to panic like he's about to die does mean it's more for the fun rather than the benefits. To help with headshots and tank shots, the rifle also has a sniper mode. It's a sniper. It hits like a bowling ball, able to zoom in pretty far, and has the standard stabilizing for better shots button. Though it is fun that instead of holding your breath, the gun activates a gyro stabilizer. Shows that Rogue is too good to worry about holding his breath. Now, we get to the attachments. These you have to switch in and out, which does actually create some tactical consideration. It is powered by a mouse wheel, which can be a little bit finicky and a little bit annoying, but once you got it in the game, it gives you a nice little button that you can press so you can easily switch between the attachment and the main rifle. So you can very easily mix and match, which is nice. Our first attachment is the shotgun. Shit range, but it makes up for the fact that it kicks major ass. With the auto-aim, you can just point it in the general direction of the enemy, and if you're close enough, they are basically dead. The funeral has already been arranged, and we are ready to hand out the memorial mugs. This is an awesome shotgun, and the fact that it's an attachment means you can switch from close range ass kicking to long range ass kicking. Like, no enemy can stand in your way. Not even giant enemy mechs are immune to the power of the shotgun. I mean, I could talk about the shotgun all day, top 10, but we need to move on. You got the next attachment, a mortar, also known as the perfect anti-sniper weapon. Why? Well, it's got ridiculous range, and it locks onto them like a cat trying to catch a laser. All you gotta do is just point the auto-targeting over them, pull the trigger, and just watch as the weapon just flies off and blows them up. I mean, sure, there are a few snipers who are just slightly too far away for it, so you gotta freaking snipe them like a peasant. But everyone else, just point and shoot, and you'll be having beautiful days. The only issue is just ammo cost. But if you scavenge people, then you'll be able to blast them night and day. It's trivializing them, and I love it. Mortars also work as a good anti-everything weapon. Heavily armored suits can be easily busted open by unloading a full mortar on them. Explosives are still very lethal to humans on New Earth, and even those deadly trash cans can be easily broken with mortars. It's beautiful. But next, we have the Scud Launcher, and it is disappointing. It's basically an anti-air gun, but it takes too long to lock onto planes to be nice, and it requires 2 shots in order to destroy any helicopters. A simple fix to either of these and I would be happy, but it has been at least 2 months since the game was released, and there has been no fixes to this, so I'm not holding my breath. The next weapon is the beam rifle, a highly experimental weapon that blasts concentrated electricity at the enemy, and it is underwhelming. It has a nice arcing that electricity does, but you do lose a lot when you can't blow up a person's tank. It's more useful as a bug zapper rather than a Nort zapper. Lastly is your pistol. It's basically a backup weapon with unlimited ammo but no auto-aim and doesn't really get any upgrades. However, unlike most games from around then, where the pistol is beyond useless and you would have a better time holding insults at your enemies, here it is surprisingly useful. It hits hard with a really nice sounding shot, like and it fires fast and is pretty accurate. You could, in theory, play the entire game with it. However, the only exceptions being having to deal with stuff like helicopters, as even though the pistol is good, it can't beat a rocket launcher or a helicopter. There's also a variety of grenades that can be played with. You got your standard nades, sticky nades, nades that stun dudes, nades that burn guys up. There's just plenty to play with, and they all work really well. What more do you need? And last point about gameplay is stealth. It works surprisingly well. It's a simple vision and sound based system. They see you, they shoot you. They hear you, they try and find you, and then shoot you. To help with stealth, you got a silencer that can be attached to your gun at any time. It is rather surprising how there seems to be no downsides to using it, so you might as well keep on your gun the whole game. And if you're able to sneak up on someone, then you can perform a stealth kill for a sweet finisher and some extra scrap. Actually, I lied. You can do this even in the heat of battle. All you need to do is just get behind someone, and everyone else will freeze in place as you perform a stealth kill. I think why the stealth works so well is that it never becomes mandatory. You never hit a level, and then it's like,
Rogue, we need you to sneak into this sewer base. If you alert any of the guards, then the mission is over.
I mean, Rogue is Rogue. He plays by his own rules, which is just one, and that's play by your own rules. It does mean that you can never fully stealth a level, but it doesn't matter. Stealth basically helps to trim the grass before you bust out the lawnmower. So gameplay overall is good. Controls are easy to learn and play, and you are given a nice variety of tools which are fun to use. Now sure, it may not be complex, but it's fun to just run and gun and kick some major ass. And if you want to spice up and try a different approach, then the game won't punish you, which is nice. Would be nice if the game did have more variety or attempted some more advanced encounters. But these are things where a sequel, well, would fix them. For the first game for an IP which doesn't have the highest budget attached to it, well, the game ticks the most important box. It is fun. So why is Rogue in all of these areas? Well, let's get back to the plot. So remember how earlier I said Rogue goes on his journey of revenge with dead teammates? Well, it turns out GI soldiers have biochips implanted into them. These chips allow their personalities to be downloaded into it for future use. So even though Gunner and Bagman are dead, rip, our hero Rogue manages to save their biochips and install them into his gun and his backpack. Also, there's a slot left in his helmet, and we still need to rescue Helm. I am sure nothing bad will happen to our buddy, Helm. So yeah, got his mates with him. Not exactly a one-man army, but he is a one-man squad, which does look less impressive on a resume. Also, with Gunner and Bagman, we get some special abilities. We get the auto-aim and crafting I mentioned earlier, and we can set up Gunner as a sentry gun. This is a special ability that I used only once in the game. The game is just too fast-paced. I never found it practical to set up when I could just keep running and gunning. Same with the ability to lay down micromines that Bagman gives. Used it a couple of times, but they require planning, and who needs planning when you have guns and a backpack? Oh yeah, Rogue find Helm like a mission later, and he's dead. Rip Helm. Tortured to a mostly dead by an old woman. Also, there's a cutscene with her in which it really feels like there's gonna be a boss fight. Like, it gives the impression that we're about to have a kind of silly fight where she's probably jumping around and we just keep running and gunning until we put a small mountain worth of lead into her. But no. Instead it fades to black and bam, she's dead. Rip. Unfortunately, it's too late. Helm is dying from a poison that kills GIs. Which, remember, that's not possible, but it is. Merry Christmas. So Rogue rescues Helm, and he repays the favor by telling him he heard the dead woman say a name. Grand Admiral Hoffa. Also, with Helm, we get the ability to project holograms. It's mainly used to distract snipers, but it's rendered useless with the power of mortar. I used it once and forgot about it. We spent a mission breaking into a Nort base and hacking into it, where we learned that Hoffa is going to have a meeting in New Paris. So we sneak in with a very loose definition of sneak deep into New Paris to kill an admiral. But with the power of third-person narrative game storytelling, we, the audience, are able to get a peek into the meeting and are able to detect something hinky.
Congratulations, my friend. Thanks to the information you provided, the massacre of the GIs in the Quartz Zone has been almost a 100% success.
But what I really want from you is the payment I was promised.
Full payment will be received once we can confirm that all the GIs have been eliminated.
That's right. Rogue and his generic buddies were sold out. For money! Also, while we are here, Hoffa is being too strict. Like mate, the whole ambush was successful. Only one of them survived. If we want to be picky and bring the biochips into it, which I will count as half a person, 2.5 GIs survived. That's enough for a payday and maybe a well.
It is kind of annoying that 2.5 GIs survived. But hey, perfect is perfect.
And our trader buddy understands the situation and decides to open a window in order to get some fresh air. So Hoffa dies, rip, and our trader buddy decides, as some military experts would say, get the fuck out of there. Rogue follows, and we have a helicopter chase. Also, this helicopter chase is underwhelming. My opinion is that if you're going to have a turret sequence, then you should go buck wild with it. You should be tearing things apart with your minigun, and it should look like a swarm of bulls have gone through the location. It starts off with that, with the ability to shoot down some of the signers, and even the monument. But the rest of it is just flying and shooting down rockets and planes. I know 2006, but Mercenaries' Playground of Destruction came out in 2005, and that allowed for untold levels of chaos. I just want a little bit. And we take down the traitor, and we learn a shocking truth. The traitor is not just a standard grunt with a chip on his shoulder. Oh no, those chips are General Stars. And we get the name of our major villain for the story, and it is the Traitor General. Yeah, they just call him the Traitor General. Even in the bios, it's still the Traitor General. Which, I mean, look, I know it's like a comic book game, it's kind of like that's one of those lost things, but it's like you still could have given him something. It could have been something cute, like, Mark Judas or Ben Arnold. Or anything. Could have been just a casual name, like Johnny John from accounting. But no, we just have the Traitor General, which I know a story for a game like this is like a lost point, but still. Also, we do get to see his face, but it turns out, even though he survived the crash, he looks, well, bad. Just bad. It's one of those burns where there's no being kind about it. I would say it did a number on his looks, but we don't actually know what he looked like before the burn. Even in the bios, we see his post-makeover look. Also, we can see it in the bios before we actually see it in game, so oops. Which is disappointing. I mean, I want to know what our friend Johnny used to look like. Maybe it was his reason for selling out the troops.
But then again, he is doing this for money, which I mean, damn!
The Southers must be paying their troops like shit if a general is willing to betray their side for money. Unless I am severely underestimating how much he was getting paid.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
So Rogue finds his general, we see his beautiful mug, gets captured, gets rescued 25 seconds later by a female GI named Venus, we kill a dude, rip, and follow the Trader General to New Atlanta.
Once again, continuing the great tradition of people on New Earth being uncreative hacks.
Rogue is then contacted by a high-ranking member of Southern Command, who gives off cloak and dagger vibes by the name of Covert.
Once again, continuing the great tradition of people on New Earth being uncreative hacks.
He was the one that sent Venus, but it wasn't really worth mentioning. He basically says,
Hey, I need you to capture this guy alive and don't do any silly shit like killing him, okay? Got it? Cool.
So, we begin the final act. We are chasing after the Trader General, but this time we have semi-official backing, which changes nothing, and are expected to bring him in alive. Before we finish this review, let me quickly talk about the other Rogue Trooper, Rogue Trooper Redux. Yep, in 2017, Rebellion unleashed an updated version of the game with updated graphics and updated gameplay. So let's look at them graphics. It's definitely an upgrade. We got high quality models and effects all over the place. Though, weirdly, not every texture has been updated. Well, that wouldn't be an issue as long as there's no giant screens showing off the old model and... Oh. I want to say 95% of everything has been updated, but that 5% is distracting. And there are some cut corners, which is disappointing. Like the Newpuri electronic billboards, instead are just static billboards, and the memorial, it's blank. I mean, I can understand, since both would require a good amount of effort to create assets for things that, well, most people wouldn't even notice. But detail is what makes a world like this feel alive. And it means we lose the cat saw spear. Rip. Also, some of the design changes I am not the biggest fan of. Rather than have the classic Trader General look with his melted face, we instead have this. Which, it's still a bad burn, but it's less impactful. Also, the animation is the exact same. So you got modern graphics with 2006 era movement, and it looks bad. It's really awkward looking, mainly in the cutscenes. You got lips that don't really match the enunciation of the words. Hands, 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 and freaky necks. So what about the gameplay? How has it been improved? Well, you can now aim with your weapon, which is nice. It makes the blasting people with the regular assault rifle easier. It's not groundbreaking, but it's nice. Also, you can walk into cover rather than pressing a button, which is a thing. In some spots, it can be annoying, since here I am trying to get Rogue to take cover, and he isn't doing it. And I don't know if it's because I'm not walking into it properly, if it isn't actually cover, or Rogue has gone rogue again. Oh! And instead of clicking to confirm equipment choices, the game will do it after a few seconds, and it is annoying. Selecting the proper equipment is fiddly enough with the mouse wheel, but well, now imagine trying to do that while under fire.
Well, you'll most likely pick the wrong gun.
And you gotta spend like 10 seconds watching Rogue attach a freaking STAM launcher indoors. Other than that, gameplay is exactly the same. In fact, everything else about the game is the same. Same levels, same enemies, and same old Rogue. At least there was effort with the new look, and not just upscaling the textures. But hey, you can buy it on Xbox One or the PS4. The game is still good, even if some of the gameplay changed, and the new graphics are very pretty to look at. So the game gets my seal of nice. Now, let's finish the story. We have a mission which is basically a let's buy a car mission. We do rescue a group of Souther soldiers, and we get some allies, who you don't even need to worry about. They just follow you and act as extra bullet magnets. We also hack a gun in order to help evacuate New Atlanta, because things are going to shit. Next is the train level. It's boring. Helm basically tells you which direction the enemies are coming from, and it's simple as hopping on the gun and stamping some "please go away" stamps on the enemy. Rinse and repeat with some hopping on the anti-air gun to take out some stuff in the air.
Unfortunately, Rogue encountered some slight issues down the track.
So Rogue survived, because all action heroes are crash-proof, and we travel through a spooky forest. Here we are introduced to spiders, who are just annoying, and lots of snipers. It would be a major issue if it weren't for the power of mortar. But now we have to deal with our most deadly enemy, the elite sniper Morgan, who apparently uses invisible bullets. We will have to use all of our abilities, and nah, we just shoot him before he shoots us. The hardest part is the fact that you gotta wait for him to pop his head up. Unfortunately,
He is just far enough away to be mortar-proof.
next mission is just getting a boat. It's fun with shooting, blasting, but not much to talk about story-wise. Now with the boat, we're able to get to New Atlanta, and oh my god, the Norts have stolen the sky! The joy of running an old game on modern hardware. I mean, my freaking antivirus software blocked the game when I first ran it. Now at New Atlanta, we are right on the trail of the Trader General.
But before we can get him, we are hit with a major snag.
Cashiers!
The Cashians are here, aka that one guy that killed Gunner. But that's not really an indicator of skill. Feels like Gunner would have gotten killed by any number of things, like the new recruits, bad driving, or even spiders. And he was lucky enough that it was Spec Ops that got him. They do provide a slight problem, since they employ the advanced tactic known as shields. Makes simply shooting them with the assault rifle hard. But we have our own advanced tactics. It called shotgun to the face and mortar. So we kick some ass, and we get right on the ass of the Trader General. We also got a slight snag before we can get the General's butt. That's right, it's Sniper Fight 2! Face to face. This will be the most deadly fight of our life. Well, turns out the guy learned nothing new. Now there's nothing between us and the General. We climb the tower, inform covert, and we seal him. The face of evil. Now is time to fight. And he is behind a shield. Yep, our final battle for all of the jelly beans is a turn off the generators fight. We turn on some bridges and blow up some energy thingies. The only thing stopping us is just the Nord army with their troops, snipers, armored suits, and killer tin cans. But we've had an entire game to learn all their weaknesses. We know how to kick their ass. And with the shields down, we go and kick the General's ass. It is satisfying to see Rogue finally catch up to him. Finally, we are able to... God damn it. Turns out, Covert could not be trusted. Bastards decided to press the blow up everything button. But Rogue is explosion proof.
But now it's time for the ending.
Any reason why I shouldn't pull this trigger?
I had to make sure the traitor was located and killed. All other considerations were secondary. Mission's over, Rogue. The traitor's dead, and you've more than proven your worth at these kind of operations. I can help you. Get the charges against you dropped. Get new clone bodies grown for your 3 comrades.
We're soldiers, not spies and assassins.
Looks like that's a no then, Colonel.
Turns out Rogue is also bullshit proof.
You think you can fight this war on your own?
Why not? It's the job we were created for.
And with that, Rogue Trooper is over. It was a fun time. Rogue Trooper may be a simple game in many aspects, but it's like a box. It's sturdy. And this game is sturdy too. You got good gunplay and a story that takes you all over New Earth. It's nice seeing interesting sights, visiting fun locations, and shooting the locals. There are issues, but none that really ruin a first time playthrough. The Redux is also nice, since it's mainly just an update on the graphics, while keeping the solid gameplay mostly the same. But some of the changes on the visuals are disappointing, and some gameplay changes are annoying. But if you only have an Xbox One or PS4, then this is a good way to play the game. However, if you have a PC and Steam, then I can recommend getting the original as well. It's still fun, and it's cheap, so why don't you get it today?
But now it's time for the last minute twist!
There's a body down here. A salsa!
Son of a bitch!